Hey, everybody, welcome to the weekend edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0. I am the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height.
Glad to have you aboard each and every Saturday morning. This will hit September the 10th. We're taping on the 7th. Each and every Saturday morning, we let you know what you can listen to, watch, what you can avoid to save yourself some time.
Yep.
We will take the bullet for you.
We will provide this service to save your precious free time to do more important things.
So we're almost like a charity, if you think about it.
We're giving individuals.
Yes.
As much as we say we despise humanity, we do our best to make it a better place to live.
We're like an intellectual food bank, giving these little pearls of wisdom to you to guide you through your life. That's right.
Unless you want to kick some donations our way and set up a GoFundMe page for us, we wouldn't cry.
As always, this benevolent charity known as Sports Frenzy 2.0, weekend edition.
Benevolent or malevolent? It depends on who you are.
We'll do our famous pivot later. We'll go from benevolent to malevolent. We start off, as always, with music. Now, of course, we mentioned last week, Dave and I were going to do something rare, which is we were going to split album reviews for you. Yep. Didn't want to push Dave into listening to something I didn't think he would like, and I just really wasn't in the mood to listen to the harder rock stuff that he wanted to listen to this time around. So
wise call on your part.
Dave has got the new Megadeth, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead. I have got the new King's X, 3 Sides of One. So, since you've already pretty much hinted at what your review is going to be, why don't you go?
Let's go with The Sick, the Dying, and the Undead, Megadeth's new album. 14 songs, just over an hour. Love the title track. The first one out of the box, very good. After that, it just kind of went, very underwhelming. There's not a lot of bright spots. There was a lot of just okay. Some, we talked about We'll Be Back wasn't all that strong when we reviewed it first off. Soldier On's kind of just past the midway point. Like I said the last time when we reviewed that one, it was okay. But just not a solid outing from Dave and the boys. So 1.5 to 2.
Ooh.
It's just so underwhelming. There's only really the title track that really got my attention.
Ooh. Brutal.
It was. I've listened to it a couple times. It did not hook me in except for the title track.
Yeah, I'll have to listen to the title track if you're giving that a thumbs up. But yeah, I agree with you. I didn't think We'll Be Back or Soldier On came off as anything special.
Yeah. One police truck near the end was kind of interesting, but it still wasn't all that.
What about the track with Sammy Hagar? Wasn't that on there? We talked about that about a month and a half ago. This Planet's on Fire. Isn't that on there?
It is. It's the last one. It was okay.
Okay.
So, again, it's just very mediocre and underwhelming for what you had hoped for, what I had hoped for out of it. Now, I'm sure there are Megadeth fans out there who will rip me to pieces for it, but whatever.
They are diehards, man. They are diehards, but...
And I'm more of a casual fan.
So am I, yeah.
So, I mean, it really would have had to hook me to go all in for this one.
Yeah. But we are brutally honest here. It doesn't matter if it's a band that we normally love, somebody we're just trying to find a good effort from, like a Megadeth. Next week will be Ozzy Osbourne. That's another one where we haven't had a lot of strong stuff from him over the last 10 or 15 years.
No, and the first two off of it have been eh.
Yep, so next week will be patient number 9. I reviewed King's X, their first album in over a decade, 3 sides of one. Very, very schizophrenic album. Now, I liked the 2 songs that we reviewed here on the weekend edition here over the past couple months. I liked them a lot. I know you weren't as big of a fan as me, but Let It Rain and Give It Up I thought were fantastic. So that's kind of why I wanted to review this,
Right.
was that unlike Megadeth, with the 2 songs we reviewed, these 2 grabbed me. So I'm like, all right, I know when King's X is good, to me they're really good. So let me see how this whole album plays out. 12 tracks. Ambitious in terms of themes. It's very obvious there are specific themes involved here. Water is a very big metaphor they use.
Does it flow well?
Time and or death is another, recurring theme on the album. But it's not like it's a concept album. It jumps around. You'll get a song dealing with water, you get a song dealing with death, and then you get something just completely innocuous. So it is very schizophrenic. One thing I kind of did some digging about King's X as I was listening to the album, and like Collective Soul, King's X, people have tried to almost pigeonhole them as a Christian band, because a lot of their lyrics have to do with religion.
Yeah.
And they admit they're Christians, but at the same time, just like Collective Soul, they say that doesn't make us a Christian band just because we reference God once in a while or something that you can tie into the Bible doesn't mean we're a Christian rock band.
Right.
So I'm not going to go through the entire album track by track, but outside of Let It Rain and Give It Up, there are 3 or 4 other songs that are pretty good. The second track, Flood Part 1. There you go. There's your water. Of course, Let It Rain, the first track. So you got back to
Let
back
It
right
Rain
off the
into
bat.
the Flood.
Flood is really an interesting song. And again, very schizophrenic albums, even style-wise. Flood has really hard guitars in it, really metallic guitars in it. So coming after Let It Rain, I'm off to a good start here on the album, and then it kind of falls off. You've got All God's Children later on, which talks about tainted water. There's strings in some of these songs where sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You got up-tempo, you've got near metal stuff with songs like Festival and Swipe Up. And then you've got really, really mellow stuff like Nothing But the Truth, which is redeemed at the end. No, see how I did that? Redeemed. It's got a false ending, and then it goes into about a 45-second killer guitar solo that saves the song to a certain extent. But for the most part, it's just a really odd album in terms of the tempo shifts, the changes, quality songs, not so good songs. It's just all over the map. I didn't hate it though. It was okay. It was interesting. There's even times when they get almost Beatlesque when they, with their pop creations. Holidays is a song that jumps out at me in terms of almost sounding like a Beatles rehash.
Early, mid, or
psychedelic.
Yeah. There you go.
So I will give 3 sides of one a week, 2.5 frenzies. It was good enough where I'll probably listen to it again.
Yeah.
But I don't see it becoming a contender for album of the year by any stretch.
All right. There we go.
Now we've got a couple songs to review as well.
Yep. Should we start with the Struts? Fallen with
Sure.
Me?
Sure.
This one was a little different from them. It was more kind of a dance tune. But it had, almost had a Jack White feel to it.
Yeah, I can see that. I could see that where you get that.
Just kind of a little bizarre Alice in Wonderland type feel to it. I wasn't wild about it. So to me, it kind of put in the 2 range.
Now, see, I kind of
maybe
liked
2.5. I mean, it's kind of one of those earworms,
right,
where it's got
right.
that beat and the hook that you'll listen to it, but it just, I don't know.
I did not come up with the comparison to Jack White. That's actually a pretty good comparison. But not off the last album Jack White did. The one before, a little bit more rockin'.
Yeah.
I don't know if you and I have ever talked about this before when it comes to the Struts. I know Mrs. C loves the Struts, can't get enough of them.
Right.
And we've seen them in concert a couple times. I really don't know how I feel about them.
I can see that.
Sometimes they're fun. Sometimes I feel like they're trying too hard to be an Elton John Queen mashup thing, especially the lead singer.
Yeah.
So I kind of look forward to their new music with clenched teeth. I kind of go, okay,
what are we going to get?
It could be good. It could be
not so good.
This I thought was better for them. I thought this was better than some of the stuff they've put out recently. Again, not that the stuff they've put out in the past has been bad. It's just not me. It's not my style of music.
Right.
Little too poppy, little too glam at times.
Yeah.
So I actually kind of liked the little more edgy, down and dirty feel this one had. So I'll actually give this one 3 frenzies. I actually did enjoy this.
All right.
So I thought this was a pretty good song. Now we move on to Billy Ray Cyrus. I mean, Ugly Kid Joe.
Long Road. They're country-ish.
It's blatantly country.
Yeah, these are 2 songs from Ugly Kid Joe's new album that are not what we were expecting from them. This is
the first single
a mature,
that we reviewed
is changed band.
The first one was That Ain't Livin'.
Yep.
Which I think we both liked.
Yeah, liked very much.
Good rockin', solid tune.
Yeah.
This, I'm not going to say it's a bad song. I mean, we know that I'm not the biggest country fan in the world. But
this is kind of background sitting out on the front porch or the back deck having a beer.
I thought you were going to say, make sure you take that jug of moonshine and nestle it in the crook of your arm. It's not awful, but it's just not my cup of moonshine.
You're not your jug of shine.
Yeah, I would probably say this is a 2 frenzy for me.
That's where I was putting this one. It's
a very odd change, odd shift for them.
Yeah,
to go almost straight on country.
I think if it would have been a different band doing it, one that you would kind of expect this more from, I think to me this was just kind of a shock coming from them.
Yeah, it just really caught me off guard. Definitely a musical curveball from Ugly Kid Joe.
Yeah, for sure. So now I'm intrigued what the rest of the album is going to be like.
Yeah, we'll get to it. That'll definitely be on the slate for one we'll review when it comes out. We've got down the road, we've got Queensryche because we're going to see them in October, so we're going to have to listen to their new album.
Yep.
Coming out here in about 3 weeks, I believe. We've got Sammy Hagar and the Circle coming out at the end of
full
September.
album coming up.
So we've got stuff. Ugly Kid Joe, obviously. We got Ozzy next week, so we've got plenty to review for you coming up in the coming weeks on the weekend edition.
Gonna have a concert here for you coming up in a couple weeks.
Yep, Everclear and Stone Temple Pilots, and of course, when it comes to movies, in a couple weeks we will have our review of Clerks 3.
Yes, we were fortunate enough to get tickets to the big screen for that one.
All right, wrapping up music, I want to talk for a few minutes about the Taylor Hawkins tribute concert from this past Saturday, which was streaming on Paramount Plus. I was given bad information, which kind of pisses me off, because I had read that you didn't have to watch the live stream. They were going to go ahead and basically save it so that you could watch it later on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, they didn't do that.
They cut what they did was they cut a 4-hour concert down into a 45-minute highlight package.
Oh, come on.
So a lot of the stuff that I heard...
What kind of crap is that?
Yeah, it's again, I got bad information. You might as well call me Doug Gottlieb. Because my sources were incorrect. But some of the stuff that I was able to watch, some of the highlight package, I did watch the first 40 minutes live.
Yeah.
Before I had prior commitments, which we'll get to later on. But it started at 11:30 Saturday morning. Like I mentioned, I know it went about 4.5 hours. The parts that I saw were really cool. Now, I was a sucker way back in the day for Live Aid. I tried to watch that whole thing. You know, I was taking bathroom breaks while they were switching out drum kits and stuff like that. But again, I knew I wasn't going to be able to watch this whole show, but I thought I'd be able to watch it on Sunday morning when I was going to have the time. And of course, again, pared down from 4 hours plus to 45 minutes. So, but I want to talk about some of the things that happened at the concert. Now, first and foremost, I told Dave this already. Wolfgang Van Halen finally played Van Halen. He's been saying he was not going to play Van Halen. Now, maybe he's trying to say that just when he's on stage with Mammoth. And
perhaps.
This was just him on stage with Dave Grohl playing bass. And then Justin Hawkins of The Darkness coming out singing lead. So they played 2 Van Halen classics, Wolfie on guitar, Hot for Teacher, and On Fire. I have not been able to catch the YouTube videos yet for On Fire, but I did watch Hot for Teacher because that was part of the highlight package show.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Wolfie nails it perfectly. Now the rumors are starting up again about why can't we do the Van Halen tribute show with Wolfie on guitar, Michael Anthony
on bass,
Alex, and David Lee Roth. He can play the guitar parts. He can play it.
He grew up on them. I'm sure he knows them inside and out.
I highly recommend anybody who likes Van Halen get out there and watch this 10, 12-minute segment of the Taylor Hawkins tribute show to watch those 2 songs. Like I said, I've got to track down On Fire. I have not watched that yet. Another one I've got to track down was the reunion of them Crooked Vultures. Now that was a one-off band, one album featuring Josh Homme of Queens of the Stone Age, John Paul Jones of Led Zeppelin, and Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
They got back together and played a song or two. So I want to see
Nice.
that.
That would be cool to see.
And the thing about Josh Homme is that he came out early in the show when I was watching it live. Dude, they decided they were going to play a couple David Bowie songs because I guess Taylor Hawkins was a huge Bowie fan. So Josh Homme comes out, sings Let's Dance. Jesus God, he sounds just like Bowie.
Really?
It was almost flawless. It was almost flawless.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one I highly recommend. Check out Let's Dance from early on in the show. And then finally, I don't want to, go through the entire thing because, like I said, I haven't watched a lot of it, but one of the highlights I did catch. Very, very cool. Foo Fighters bring out Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson tears up Back in Black with the Foo Fighters.
Nice.
Now, the only thing is Justin Hawkins again comes out. Now, he sang the two Van Halen songs, but it almost, to a lot of people, looked like he forced himself on stage during Back in Black and sang the second verse. And a lot of people were saying he looked like he was wrestling the microphone away from Brian Johnson. Now, Dave Grohl's come out and said, no, that's not true. Brian Johnson invited him out on stage. And Justin Hawkins even said, I don't know if I really want to do this. I'm not really prepped to sing a song like Back in Black. And I guess Dave Grohl looked at him and said, if Brian Johnson tells you to do something, you fucking do it.
Nice.
So, and that sounded great. That sounded unbelievable. Now, of course, one last little tidbit here, and I'll let this go. When I said the Foo Fighters were out there with him, Dave Grohl was still on bass. So you're like, who's playing drums on Back in Black?
Who could it be?
That would be one Mr. Lars Ulrich of Metallica. Very cool stuff. I'm a sucker, bad. Like I said, for all that type of stuff. So down the road, maybe I'll watch bits and pieces on YouTube, try to piece the whole thing back together again and see the stuff I missed, since again I was lied to. I was told I could watch the whole thing.
So you haven't seen the big drum?
I haven't seen any of the Foo Fighters performance.
Oh, there's one that I saw with Tyler's son on drums.
Oh, really?
Oh my God.
Yeah, the only things I've seen other than the ones I've mentioned, I saw Gallagher. I think it's Liam. I can't remember between the two brothers. I think Liam's the singer. He came out, sang a couple Oasis songs to start the show. And then I saw in the highlight package, I saw the Pretenders doing Brass in Pocket. Again, another person, Chrissy Hines, said she was never going to play the hits again with the Pretenders. And then she comes out and plays their biggest hit.
Yeah, well, go figure.
Yeah.
So,
but that's all I've seen.
Yeah, Tyler's son on drums was a phenomenal moment. Freaking nailed it. Very, very cool.
Very nice. Like I said, I plan on trying to, at some point, catch up and watch some of the stuff. Definitely got to watch the entire Van Halen segment. Definitely got to see them Crooked Vultures. Definitely got to watch the Foo Fighters.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah. But again, I was lied to, but I'm not going to get upset.
He's not bitter.
No. All right, wrapping up music. Dave will also, with me, be reviewing the new Cult song. I know he will not object to that. The second single from their upcoming album is called A Cut Inside. Just came out today as we're taping here on September the 7th. So we'll review that for you. And I also have a little interesting outtake that I think Dave will enjoy. So we'll try to review this for you next week. From the 40th anniversary edition of Creatures of the Night. A Kiss outtake Song called Betrayed. Listen to that today. It was actually pretty good, so I figured that could be worth reviewing.
All right.
Shine a light on some little known, little listened to Kiss.
Very cool.
So that'll do it, kids. Segment 1 is a wrap, as they say in the music biz. Or is that more the movie biz?
That's more in the movie biz.
All right, I'll save it for later then.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the music biz. That's the English beat. Save it for later. I saved it. See, I saved that whole segment. That little. Never mind. I'm tired. All right, kids. We'll be right back with our review of Jurassic World Dominion, which just hit Peacock this past weekend.
Yep, the extended cut.
And we shall discuss in detail how we felt about that coming up. Quick promo, and we will be right back. When your day of dealing with international intrigue is over and you've settled down in your Aston Martin, call up Sports Frenzy 2.0 on your phone or smart car stereo. Every Thursday, Kev Dave will take your mind off the megalomaniac who just had a laser pointed at your genitals with the best sports criticism around. And don't forget to listen to the Weekend Edition every Saturday so you can plan out your entertainment options with the femme fatale of your choice. Grab a martini, shaken, not stirred, and check out Frenzy, Sports Frenzy 2.0.
Hey kids, it's movie time on Sports Frenzy 2.0, the Weekend Edition with your reviewers, me, Dave Height, the Conquistador.
And me, Kevin Crane, the Maestro. So let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get eaten by a T-Rex.
There you go. Here on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Amazon, Audible, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and Stitcher! All right, Jurassic World Dominion.
Yes, and the reason why I subjected you to my awful singing is because it actually ties into a scene early on.
Yes.
In Jurassic World Dominion,
where said dino tends to invade a drive-in theater.
Now, we can't be held responsible for the fact that if you haven't watched the previous 5 movies, especially the last one, Fallen Kingdom, you're going to be lost as we talk about Dominion, because
there's just so much that has to be mentioned that refers back
Fallen
to
Kingdom
everything.
And Dominion are really tied in close together.
They are.
Now, in some ways, okay. In other ways, ugh.
Yeah, it's like, why?
Now, at the start of Jurassic World Dominion, of course, the dinosaurs are now on the mainland as a result of what happened at the end of Fallen Kingdom. I did like the at the very beginning, they have like a brief minute or two of like a fake newscast.
Yeah.
Where they're showing how the dinosaurs are kind of recapping how the dinosaurs are impacting the world as they interact with humans.
Yep.
You know, cars having to swerve off the road to avoid getting pummeled
dinosaurs.
by yeah.
Dinosaurs in the sea interfering with the deadliest catch.
Yep. So that kind of stuff I like. That to me is very creative.
That was kind of cool.
And that's probably the highlight of the movie. No, I didn't hate the movie as much as that might imply, but
it was
after 5 of these movies, how could the 6th one really have anything new and exciting to really get you going?
It was a tough sell almost with this one, because like you said, where else can you go after 5?
Right.
And there were some parts of this that kind of felt forced.
Yeah, now, of course, the dinosaurs, for the most part, are in an enclosure in the Italian mountains, in a valley in the Italian mountains.
Yes, Biodyne's sanctuary.
Right. And of course, there's evil behind the scenes at Biodyne, and our intrepid heroes, not only the ones from Jurassic World, but going all the way back to the first Jurassic Park movie.
Yep.
Laura Dern, Sam Neill get brought in.
As does everyone's favorite kook.
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum's back. So, yeah, you had some quaint little moments here and there. I don't know. Parts of it was very disjointed.
Well, I'll tell you, going back to Fallen Kingdom and then bringing it into Dominion, I think they got too wrapped up. Number one, this is so far removed from the vision that Steven Spielberg, I think Michael Crichton would be turning over in his grave. This is not really what he envisioned. This is
not Crichton-esque at all.
With his first two movies. He wrote the first two, and I think it's really lost a lot since then, since he's passed on and he doesn't have any influence in terms of the writing. I don't know how much, if any, contribution Steven Spielberg's still making to this. I'm sure he's
probably
listed.
Not
I'm sure they're listing him as an executive producer, but that doesn't mean jack.
No. That just means he signed off on it.
In the end, it feels like a money grab. It feels like they're just making these movies now just to try to make money.
Yeah.
From suckers like us who are going to spend all our time watching it. And again, we watched the extended cut, so I don't know. I have not watched the regular cut, so I don't know what scenes were the extras. It didn't seem to flow badly in terms of, I couldn't pick out scenes that I think were necessarily.
My youngest picked it up and watched it. He got the DVD with the extended before it came out.
But didn't
so
he
watched
the theater?
He saw it in the theaters, and then he watched the extended, and he let us know that everything from the beginning up until after the drive-in was part of the extended.
Really?
Because he made a point to let me know that, yeah, in the previews and in everything, they had stuff with the drive-in, but it wasn't in the movie.
Oh, now I'm not saying that's the first time that's ever happened. We've seen that before, where they've used stuff in the previews that didn't end up being in the movies.
Right. Like one of the best lines out of the movie Major League, where he goes, "That wouldn't have been out of a lot of that home run wouldn't have been out of a lot of parks." Yeah, name one. Yellowstone.
Another problem I have with it is that I think they got too much invested in too many characters.
Yeah, there was way too much going on.
By the end of Dominion, you've got, like, it seems like an entire crowd of people trying to get on a helicopter to get out of the sanctuary, the Biodyne sanctuary.
You got 8 people trying to get out of there.
Yeah, you got the original Jurassic Park couple plus Jeff Goldblum, Malcolm. Then you got the Jurassic World family with Bryce Dallas Howard, who still can act her way out of a paper bag. Chris Pratt, who I thought was criminally underused in this.
Oh God, yes. And then the clone girl they adopted.
That's my problem. I didn't like the clone storyline when it started in Fallen Kingdom, and I didn't like it here. And I don't like the girl actress. I think she's awful. And then they bring in these ancillary new characters, the pilot, and then the mole inside of Biodyne. They're, to me, boring, generic. They offer nothing new.
Yeah, it was just kind of eh.
Then you got B.D. Wong, scientist, who, of course, has been in this for a while.
Oh, wait, sorry. There were 10.
Yeah. Dave's doing math.
Yeah.
I can smell the smoke.
Yep. No, it was
But
9.
no,
It was 9.
you're helping prove my point, though.
Yeah.
It's too
No, it
many
was
people.
9. 9 people
It's
on
too
there.
many people.
Yeah. You had the original 3, then the 3, then the pilot, Wong, and the mole. So there were 9.
Yeah. And it's just too many characters. Too many. I'm sorry. And they try to throw in little clumsy Easter eggs, like when the evil head of Biodyne, played by Campbell Scott, is trying to escape because, of course, the evil guy always tries to escape, leaving everybody else behind to die.
Yep, and he had to grab the Barbasol
Thank
can.
you. Yes. Clumsy, very clumsy little reference to the original.
Yeah. Along with him meeting his fate.
Yep. Another very interesting, harkening back to that same Barbasol scene from the first Jurassic Park. So
yeah, and then you had to get through and reboot power, and it's like, come on, we've been there and done that.
We got to split everybody up because one group's got to go take care of the power. The pilot's got to go warm up
get
helicopter
the escape going, and then you got to rescue a dinosaur.
Yeah, the whole blew the raptor thing has never appealed to me either. You know, that's one thing that's carried on through all 3 of the Jurassic World movies. I just can't stand this whole, we can tame the dinosaurs down and make them docile.
No, you can't.
They're dinosaurs. They're going to eat your face off. Okay? I don't care if they've got pretty blue splashes of color on their snouts or not. They're going to eat your face off and enjoy it.
There you go.
And I think finally, to wrap up the review, that's another problem with the last few movies. They don't have that sense of wonder and that sense of terror that you got in the first one, where you actually were like, the dinosaurs will kill these people because they're dinosaurs.
Yeah, now they're trying to make them into zoo animals.
There's a scene towards the end of Dominion, not a plot point that's not going to spoil anything, but they show a little girl feeding
next to a pond.
Right, feeding a little dinosaur.
Yeah. And you just kept waiting for it to eat her hand off.
You and I did.
Blood screaming away.
You and I did, because we're like, that's what should be happening.
Yep. She should be losing her hand feeding this dinosaur. That would have driven the point back home.
But they have diluted these movies out. And again, I go back to what I said about no Crichton and little, if any, Spielberg. You give it to new and upcoming younger directors and writers, and
they watered it down to the point where any age group can watch it, when really it should be for an older teenage and up audience.
Yeah, and then of course the very last line of the movie has to be a very thinly veiled statement about, we all just need to coexist.
Yeah.
All right, so that being said, see, you talked me last week on Samaritan. I was going back and forth between 2 and 2.5 with Samaritan, and I ended up settling on 2 because, again, it really didn't break any ground.
No, and
Stallone was good. So I'm kind of the same way with Jurassic World Dominion.
I know, bouncing between 2.5.
I think I'm actually gonna go a week 2.5.
Week
on
2.5, because the effects were pretty damn good.
Exactly. It's just what I was thinking too. The special effects are really good. It does, to a point, what it's supposed to do.
It kind of wraps up this particular run.
It's not the worst concluding chapter of a series, a movie series I've ever seen. It's not the best by far.
No, not.
But it's definitely not the worst. I don't know if
we'll go a week 2.5 for sure.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to.
I got.
If you've watched the other ones, you might as well watch this.
Yeah,
it's not any worse than Fallen Kingdom. Probably not really any worse than 3, Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not as good as the first 2. Probably not as good as the first Jurassic World. But it's definitely a series that has run out of steam.
Yeah, definitely. And let's face it, for being honest, they should have ended after 2. Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park 2.
Because those are the only 2 that Michael Crichton wrote.
Yeah. And that's anything after that, it just.
Yep. Yep. And again, that's why I become cynical and I go money grab.
Yep.
Money grab.
Everything after.
Well, kids, this is the week. We return to Uncle Dave and Uncle Kev having story time for you.
Yep.
Now, separate stories.
Separate stories. I wasn't able to do the one that we had hoped.
So I'm going to go ahead and do heavy metal. But first, I'm going to let the conquistador regale you with a tale of an outdoor movie night that he had recently.
Yep. My family got together with the family next door, brought out the outdoor projector, an inflatable screen.
Inflatable what?
The inflatable screen.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thought you said
Get
something
your
else.
mind out of the gutter.
Well, I am going to be talking about heavy metal.
That's right. But my cousin Vinny, the lovely, lovely, lovely Marissa Tomei.
Mm-hmm. She's pretty.
She's pretty. Regaling us with automotive knowledge on the stand. It's a fun flick, but my God, I forgot how many F-bombs they drop in it. I mean, it's like almost every other word in some scenes. And that's about the only knock for it being a true family movie. But if you get by that, it's still a fun little flick. So all the kids enjoyed it. The neighbors most of their kids had seen it a few times. My boys had not seen it yet. We've been trying to get them, but they didn't want to.
Very interesting.
So this was an enjoyable for them. They laughing like crazy during all of it. Recognized who everybody was. So it was a good evening. Always enjoyed it. Oh, come on. It's my cousin Vinny. It's a 3. A solid 3.
All right. Now, of course, if you guys have not heard us do story time in a while, Dave and I have an unofficial rule here where we don't just go out and review old movies just because we can.
No, there's a story behind, and
there has to be some kind of a reason, no matter how tenuous, for us to regale you with our tales of movie reviews from the past.
Yep.
Or at least old reviews now.
No, I'm remiss because I forgot to say the whole point of my cousin Vinny. Vinny is a wannabe lawyer who's finally passed the bar after 6 times, and he has to defend his young cousin on a murder charge in the Deep South, where the evidence is fully stacked against Billy and his friend on the murder of a convenience store clerk. And so Vinny has to find his way in his first trial with the help of the lovely, lovely, lovely Marissa Tomei.
Did we mention Marissa Tomei's pretty?
And watch the movie because you will know why I said lovely 3 times.
Aunt, may I? Yes, please. So, of course, my movie, my story time, you probably don't want to show it on a screen in your neighborhood with all the neighbors' kids.
That's right.
Watching because, number one, of course, we saw Sammy Hagar, reviewed his concert from Midsummer back in July here. Of course, one of the standout tracks that he played was Heavy Metal,
which is the title track for the movie.
Which, of course, got us thinking about,
gosh, it's been so long since we've seen it.
Maybe we should do a story time about heavy metal. And then, of course, just a few weeks ago, Gerald Potterton, the director of Heavy Metal, passed away.
Yep. So that was like,
That was
okay.
it. I'm done. I got to watch Heavy Metal. So I finally did watch it here about a week and a half ago. And number one, if you don't know what Heavy Metal is, Heavy Metal was a magazine that was out, I believe, I don't know if it goes all the way back to the 60s. I know it was out in the 70s and the early 80s.
Yeah.
All it was a magazine that set out to fulfill every freaking fantasy that a teenage boy might have.
Yep.
Not just the sex, but it tried to combine the sex,
sci-fi,
the violence, the sci-fi, all of that rolled up into a bunch of stories and comically, kind of drawn like comic books.
Yeah.
But in a magazine format. So of course they came up with the idea, let's do a movie based on this magazine. So of course you get these short little vignettes all tied together
with the music.
One of the greatest movie soundtracks ever, if not the greatest, one of the greatest.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal.
Sammy Hagar mentioned already. You've got Black Sabbath. You've got Devo, Don Felder. I mean, it's an incredible collection. Now, unfortunately, it can't be considered a perfect soundtrack because, unfortunately, Journey's Open Arms appears on it.
That's
one of the worst, if not the worst, rock power ballad of all time. So, you watch Heavy Metal. Again, it's got a whole bunch of different stories tied together by this green glowing orb of evil.
Yep.
That has got this young girl cornered and keeps telling her these stories about how this entity has altered people's mentalities and turned them bad. And here I will show you another story before I destroy you of how I have
monologuing,
how I've conquered evil, and taken over people's brains and hearts and minds on all these planets everywhere. So
yeah,
the cool thing is, of course, different animators, different styles, and all these different stories. The best one involves a taxi driver in futuristic New York City, who has got the coolest way to deal with unruly passengers. Let's put it that way. He gets a little nook on the side. And of course, that's part of the thing that makes you feel a little dirty about watching Heavy Metal, is that a lot of the animation is naked women and sex.
Yep.
Again,
that's
part of what made Heavy Metal great. A lot of science fiction, a lot of gore.
And sex.
And and nipples. A lot of nipples. But for the most part, it really works. It's really fun and cool to watch. Again, you just have to accept it for what it is. Don't be a prude.
That's right.
Just accept it for the fact that it's, again, a fulfillment for a teenage adolescent male's base fantasies. As a movie, I think it holds up pretty well. Again, the animation styles are different, but for the most part, they're all very cool, very neat. I think by the end, I get to the final story, which ends up being the longest one, with the female warrior.
Yep, riding the bird.
That one got a little bit.
That was always a bit long.
Yeah, wasn't the biggest fan of that one, but up till then, it was really, really entertaining. Yeah. And again, you got to take it for what it is. Definitely 3 frenzies for me on Heavy Metal.
There you go.
Little bit of movie news before we wrap up things here and head on to TV and streaming. I always find it fascinating to watch these memorabilia auctions. Now, on our regular Sports Frenzy, we'll talk about baseball cards and the stupid, silly money that's paid out for baseball cards.
But I also more money than brains.
Yes, and again, this is going to be another perfect example of that. But this involves a movie prop up for auction. The Star Wars prop blaster in the infamous Greedo Han Solo shootout. Han Solo's blaster,
Yeah.
of course, the controversy, who shot first, Greedo or Han Solo, sold at auction recently for over $1 million.
Oh, for the love of all that's holy. That's insane.
You know what? It doesn't shock me.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. Again,
you can find things anywhere, like what we got Nick for his birthday. We found, speaking of Han Solo, Harrison Ford, we found the Indiana Jones replica Grail diary with all the inserts and different things that you can pull out to look at. That we ordered it well over a month ago, and it finally arrived here today on September 7th as we talk, a couple days after his birthday.
Birthday present.
Birthday present. Very cool.
Now, did you say it was new or used, or?
It's new, but
Okay.
it's the replica Grail journal.
Right.
So the one disappointing thing that he found, it did not have the Hitler autograph.
I've always been fascinated by books like that. You, of course, working in the library system, I'm sure you've come across these on occasion, but there are cool books out there like that.
Where you go along and pull them out, and there are different things that tie into the story.
I got a couple of them, and I've always been kind of worried to actually mess with them,
Yeah.
Because, you start flipping through the pages and things fall out, and
yeah,
those must be really fun to try to keep together in the library setting.
Oh my God, they're a nightmare.
You just give them the book and give them like a big plastic bag full of all the notes.
No,
and
we
stuff,
try and keep it where it is in the book, but some things come back, some things don't. It is what it is.
Yeah. All right, kids. As we mentioned, coming up in 2 weeks, we'll have a review of Clerks 3 for you.
Yep.
I will have a review next week. I don't think you're going to be able to because you don't have Disney Plus still.
Nope.
But I will have my review of Thor, Love and Thunder. Hopefully, we'll also have a review of Elvis, since I get HBO free this weekend. So I will definitely have Elvis.
Yeah, I have to see
can hold
if
off on
it's
Thor.
going to be on HBO Max or not.
Yeah, it is.
So there we go.
Yep. So we might both review Elvis. I will have Thor for you, if not this week, then next week. Depends on how much free time I've got to watch flicks. I also am going to have story time again coming up, not only with one we've been talking about, which would be Heat, because I'm starting to read Heat 2 now, the book. But since Dave and I are going to see Clerks 3, how could I not rewatch Clerks 2?
We're taking it back.
Now you might ask, why aren't you watching Clerks? I have seen Clerks so many times. I mean, we're talking 30 times in my life. I know Clerks.
We know Clerks.
Backwards, forwards, upside down, right side up. Clerks 2, I need to watch again. Get back in the whole Elias thing.
Back in, yeah.
Because Elias is a little fuzzy to me still.
Yeah, Elias is that new character they added working with them.
At movies. Yep. Of course, we saw Clerks 2 together on a Sports Frenzy movie night.
We did.
This is kind of like tradition.
Yeah, we got to see how the donkey came back into play.
So a whole bunch of movies. Story times coming up. Regular reviews coming up of recent theatrical releases. We've got it all for you. Stick with us. We will not do you wrong. One more segment left, TV and streaming. Then we're going to wrap it up for the week. Lead you into your weekend. Give us another 25 minutes or so, and we will let you go have some fun this Saturday.
Yep. Stay tuned. In a world of politically correct sports coverage, two individuals stand alone as the last bastion of sanity.
the Maestro, and the Conquistador star in Sports Frenzy 2.0, the podcast.
Available on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, and Castbox. All right, everybody, one final segment left here on the weekend edition to get you through Saturday morning and the rest of your weekend. No, you don't have Monday off this time around. That's okay. We'll try to save you some time. We've already let you know Jurassic World Dominion. It's up to you. We don't heartily recommend it.
No,
If
but
you want closure, go ahead and watch it.
for you diehards out there.
Yep, the music we reviewed wasn't all that spectacular either, so I don't know if we have anything better for you in TV and streaming.
No, Resident Alien has taken a touchy-feely, namby-pamby turn. It's getting away from the brilliant performance by Alan Tudyk as the alien. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish right now. They're trying to do too much character development, going too deep into everybody's feelings, and it's kind of getting annoying, quite honestly.
Yeah, now we're taping here on Wednesday night, September the 7th, so the brand new episode just hit, so we haven't watched that yet. I believe Dave is one more behind.
I think I'm one behind. But
so I will wholeheartedly endorse what he said, though, because I did watch last Wednesday's, and yeah, it's turning into a Hallmark presentation more than a sci-fi presentation. And
stop focusing so much on relationships. Give us more the interaction with the kids and the alien.
yeah, now we've got a plot twist from last week's episode that's very interesting, but you have to slog through, like Dave said, all this female bonding crap that I'm sorry, it's not a Bravo show. It's sci-fi, okay? It's not Hallmark. I don't need #MeToo stuff. I want to hear Alan Tudyk botch references to Law and Order and talk about eating pizza, and debating whether or not he still wants to kill all the human race. It needs to sharpen up and get a little bit more like it was in season 1. They need to get back
on track.
Yeah.
They've gotten so sidetracked.
It doesn't have the sardonic, dark wit that it had in season 1.
Yeah, what drew us to the show to begin with.
Yes, and I will say blasphemy here. If this goes on for the rest of season 2, I'll follow through watching season 2, but if it doesn't get any better, I don't know if I'm going to be that enamored with watching season 3 and beyond.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough sell if they don't turn it around.
Yeah. I don't need the female bonding stuff. I just don't. Again, you've got channels for that. Sci-fi shouldn't be one of them.
You can have some of it, but they are pushing it way too far.
We are going to review season 4 in its entirety of What We Do in the Shadows next week.
Yep.
The final episode, the 10 episodes, season 4 wrapped up last night as we tape this.
September 6th was the wrap. When it was starting, my wife was going to bed early, not feeling too well. Dinner did not agree with her. And so I could not convince her to stay up to watch the finale live.
It's tough timing. It's really tough timing when it comes to that. Yeah, we gotta.
She's up at 5:30, and so 10's pretty much right around her bedtime during the week, which makes it difficult.
Yep. So we usually are a week behind on that one and Resident Alien. So next week we will wrap up season 4 of What We Do in the Shadows. And of course, at least we know with that, there's 2 more seasons coming.
Yes.
Minimum. So good news there, of course. Now, I mentioned in the music segment that I was able to watch the beginning of the Taylor Hawkins tribute concert from over in Wembley Stadium in London, England. And I also mentioned there was a reason why I couldn't finish watching it.
Because you were given bad information. Oh no.
Well, that's what I thought.
You thought
I could watch it later.
Watch it later because you had another commitment.
Yes, the other commitment, because that also happened overseas in Cardiff, Wales, was WWE's Clash at the Castle.
There you go.
With a very special start time of 1 p.m. in the afternoon on Saturday. Very nice. I liked it. By 4 o'clock, I'm done. My pay-per-view wrestling viewing is over.
For the year? Or for the month?
Let me just explain something to you. I have cut way back on my wrestling viewing. Okay? I go through phases with this. And right now I'm on the down slope. I don't even watch the other one, AEW, anymore. I haven't watched that in weeks and weeks and weeks. So all I'm watching right now is WWE because I'm interested to see what's happening without Vince McMahon involved. Because Triple H just got promoted. Now he's one level below his wife.
There you go.
He's in charge of creative. So now I want to see if the storylines get better, crisper, if they change. Now, Clash the Castle was interesting, mainly because I liked seeing the enthusiasm and the participation of the English audience. They were really into it, man. They were really into it. You think sometimes the chants you hear in the crowds in the arenas here in America, you know, when they're chanting, "This is awesome," you know, for the 15th time of the night. They are really getting, it's like, you know, you've seen them at soccer games, and yeah, they're, you know, I'm wondering if they're not sneaking out and downing pints in between matches.
I'm sure they are.
Tyson Fury, the boxer, was there at ringside. He was actually in the front row. He got involved towards the end.
Are they leading into him being a celebrity wrestler?
I don't know. I thought that for a second, but I think he was just there for a one-off. The main event was Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns. I actually thought that after 2 years of being the champion, this was where Roman Reigns was finally going to get beat, because Drew McIntyre is Scottish.
Right, and that would have been the time being there.
Yeah, he didn't have any of his entourage with him. His brothers, his manager were not there, so he was on his own. Usually, when he wins, somebody else is getting involved at some point.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm telling you, he's going to lose this thing. This is finally going to be the end of the 2-year reign. And sure enough, he ended up winning. So even though Drew McIntyre was basically holding home ring advantage, Roman Reigns ended up winning. He's still the champ over 2 years now. So the cool thing was then Tyson Fury came out, and he and Drew McIntyre, and this is where it's like almost like 60,000 people in a little tiny English pub.
Yeah.
Because they started singing. The guys in the ring, Drew McIntyre and Tyson Fury, were starting to sing. They started singing the first song, that's American Pie. They started singing American Pie and having the crowd sing with them.
Oh, good grief.
And then they started an Oasis song. Because, you know, Oasis is huge over there. So people know Oasis songs over there like we know songs by the Eagles or Aerosmith.
Yeah.
Right? So that was kind of a neat way to wrap the whole thing up. They brought in a new tag team, Imperium, which I thought was cool. And of course, I always love when they write in this stuff where wives betray husbands, or in this case, sons betray fathers. Rey Mysterio's son, Dominic, turned on him, clotheslined him.
Wow.
So now he's become a heel and joined the Judgment Day and evil consortium that Edge originally created. So those are the kind of storylines and twists and turns that I like to see. So Clash at the Castle was okay. It was pretty fun. It was, again, more about seeing how the English crowd reacted to everything. Now, here's one last thing that you'll appreciate, because we are going to see Alter Bridge in February.
Right.
Now, I think I've mentioned this to you before. Alter Bridge is huge over in England compared to here.
Right.
They're big here, but they're huge over there. The wrestler Edge, his theme music is a song from Alter Bridge. And when he came out to the Alter Bridge song that he uses, the entire crowd knew every word. They were singing every word, just like at the end with Oasis.
Nice.
That's how big Alter Bridge is over there. I thought that was really cool.
Nice.
To hear them singing every word of an Alter Bridge song. Very cool. All right, a couple other tidbits before we get on to the dumbasses of the week. No moments of silence this week, which is a good thing. HBO and Amazon are getting torn up by critics. And, of course, trolls in their mother's basement. But
yeah.
Now, this doesn't really apply to Dave and I because we're not into the whole Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones stuff like a lot of other people are.
Yeah. Not interested, really.
Yeah. Kind of the same way we feel about Avatar to a certain extent. Not quite as hateful, but
never seen Avatar and refuse to watch it.
And of course, it's coming back in the theaters here in the next couple of weeks. And then, of course, the sequel finally.
Yeah, another money grab.
But the new shows that are tied into Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. Again, Game of Thrones is on HBO. Lord of the Rings is on Amazon.
The Rings of Power and what is it? Whatever dragon.
Yeah. I don't even bother to try to memorize the names of these shows because I don't care. But a lot of people care. This is a really tricky topic. And I'm not taking sides on this, but people are mad. Now, you and I have discussed this when it comes to other shows that we care about or movies that we care about. Joe Pickett is an example. The recent Joe Pickett show on Paramount Plus, because you read the books.
Yeah.
And you weren't really happy with the casting, as I told you.
Yeah, some of the casting choices checking the boxes.
They're having the same problem now with these two shows.
Where they're having to check the boxes.
They're checking boxes and people are not happy. The diehard fans are not happy because they say, leave it alone.
Leave things the way they are originally written.
And see what you did now, though? You pissed off Whoopi Goldberg because Whoopi Goldberg had to chime in and, of course, rip on all these people.
Anybody really care what Whoopi thinks anymore?
I don't. I wish nobody would care. I wish people would stop watching her stupid show along with Joy Behar and get those two off the goddamn air as quickly as possible because they're nothing but poison.
Very much so.
Remember Bloom County?
Of course, with Opus and Bill the Cat.
One of the greatest comic strips of all time.
Yes.
It finally looks like, after stops and starts for decades, that an animated series based on Bloom County will be coming to Fox.
Finally.
Within the next year or two. Yes, I can't wait for that. It's got to be done right.
God.
They have got to do it right.
I am going to be so pissed.
They have got to do it right.
Oh, please let it be good.
So hopefully this time they will actually follow through, get this going, get it on TV. Now, please put it on Fox.
Yeah.
Or put it on FX. Do not put it on Hulu. Don't put it on
Hulu. Give it
on
something. Do not put it on a streaming service.
And the one thing I can't stand is the hypocrisy of this whole bullshit of FX on Hulu. It's either Hulu or it's FX.
Yeah.
If it's an FX show, how can it be only on Hulu?
Yeah,
it's not an FX show then.
ridiculous.
That's the dumbest thing Disney ever came up with. FX shows only on Hulu. Then it's not an FX show, is it? Because it's not on FX.
It's not.
They're doing that right now with the brand new show with Steve Carell.
Oh,
The Patient.
Yeah, The Patient.
Where he plays a therapist and the young kid who he's counseling ends up being a psychopath.
Yeah.
It's FX on Hulu, though.
That's bullshit. Hate that stuff.
God forbid they ever do that with What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, God.
I will revolt. I will revolt against the rat. All right. Time to move on to Dumbasses of the Week. This hurts me. This one hurts me. This one hurts me because we all know that when we talk about Kim Kardashian, she is one of the few women where plastic surgery actually did its job and did it very well. She's pretty. We talk about Marissa Tomei being pretty. Kim Kardashian, even though she's probably 30% plastic, she's pretty. You know, she didn't have botched plastic surgery like Meg Ryan did.
God, yeah.
Or Courtney Cox.
Yeah, that was another bad one.
Well, here's the problem. She appears on the cover of the latest Interview magazine. This part is okay. She shows off her butt. Here's the bad part, and you kids out there, you've got to go look at this. I can't do it justice because, of course, this is a podcast. It's not video.
Right.
So you're going to have to go look at this. But this is scary. You have taken...
So Google Kim Kardashian's butt.
You're probably going to get more than just... Make sure you put Interview magazine in there because otherwise you're just going to get
You're going to go down the rabbit trail that you don't want to go down.
Yeah, you're going to break your phone like our buddy Al did. Or no, his home computer. Three of them.
Three of them.
But here's the problem. As beautiful as she is on this cover, she dyed her hair and her eyebrows blonde. And she looks horrific with blonde hair.
Yikes.
I mean, scary, horrific.
Wow.
I literally had to sit there and look, not at her butt. I had to look, and that's not Kim Kardashian. There's no way that's Kim Kardashian. I mean, I know she dyed the hair and the eyebrows, but I'm just like, you can't just dye your hair and your eyebrows and turn one of the most beautiful women in the world into some kind of hideous monstrosity just by dyeing the hair and the eyebrows.
You can't do that. I'm going to have to look it up because I'm having trouble picturing that happening.
If this is Kim Kardashian, and they have no reason to lie about it, this was a dumbass move on her part.
There you go. That's not cool.
I know usually women like to go from brunette to blonde. In this case,
redhead to whatever.
Don't fix what ain't broke. All right. California. Couple of dumbass moments for the state of California.
When we were promised.
First up, Los Angeles County was erroneously told to evacuate due to a fire. Went all over the TV screens.
The entirety of LA County.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, one of those dire, stark warnings came on in the middle of the afternoon on the TV screens saying there was a mandatory evacuation in place for, like, it listed 5 or 6 areas, including LA County.
Oh, jeez.
And, of course, it was a mistake.
Oops. This was a test of the emergency broadcast system. Had it been a real emergency, we would not be saying this right now.
No, this was just a complete and total fuck up by somebody.
God. All right, Gavin, what are you doing?
Well, you want to know what else Gavin is doing here to wrap up our dumbasses of the week here in pop culture and entertainment? Of course, California is now banning gasoline-powered cars.
Right. Yes, they want them gone
By what,
within
2035?
2035, yes.
Here's the funny thing. Right after they enact this ban or this legislation where they say we're going to get rid of gas cars in the next, 13, 14 years, whatever it is, the sale of new ones.
Yeah.
Then they come out with, there's a heat wave coming. We might have blackouts, so please don't charge your electric vehicles.
Yeah, isn't that fun?
Doesn't that make a lot of sense? Doesn't that make a lot of sense?
They are so freaking brain damaged out there. It's not even funny.
We want you to buy electric cars, but don't charge them.
But you can't charge them because we're having issues. Yeah, that's what you get for California. That's how much sense it makes out there.
As Dave said, we were promised.
Back in grade school.
We're not the only ones. I hear this stuff all the time in casual conversations. People on TV, people on the radio, people out in public. They say the same thing. It's scary.
When is California dropping off the face of the earth?
We were promised. Everybody outside of California knows they're insane and they are dumb asses.
They are dumb as fuck.
And the fact that Gavin Newsom thinks he actually has a snowball's chance in hell of becoming the next president of the United States.
God help us.
Just remember, we're sane. Dave and I are the sanest people you will ever hear on a podcast.
That's right.
Nothing but logic and common sense, even when we're talking about Kim Kardashian's ass.
Because logic dictates that you must talk about it.
He's a conquistador, Dave Height.
He's the maestro, Kevin Crane.
We hope you had fun with this weekend edition. We did.
Yep, as always.
So check out next week, as we mentioned. We've got Ozzy Osbourne. We'll have story time for me for at least one movie, if not two. We will have, hopefully, our review of Elvis.
Yep. So we'll hook you up. We'll make sure you're entertained, have a laugh or two along the way.
And if you haven't checked out our sports edition during the week, hits every Thursday morning. If you're into sports, check it out. If you're not, we still make it damn entertaining. So it's still fun, even if you're not a sports fan.
And if you got something to recommend to us, drop us a line.
Comment on our Facebook page, which is still up and running, believe it or not.
Meta hasn't shut us down yet.
Yep,
I'm sure it's
Zuckerberg
coming.
hasn't done it yet.
So there you go, kids.
We will check you out next weekend here for the weekend edition. Dave and I say goodbye.